On air, online, on now. Pre-recorded from Volpit Studios, it's the MCS1 show. And now your host, MCS1.
Welcome everyone to an exciting edition of the MCS1 show. I'm MCS1, once again joined by my fearless and amazing co-host, Caleb Hennon. What up, Caleb? How are you?
I'm so good. It's the end of the week, you know?
End of the week!
It's feeling great.
Right now we are recording on a Friday night. As per usual, this is going to air like Tuesday morning, because Tuesday is when nothing happens, sort of.
Except for Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday is amazing. Also, Tuesdays are when most podcasts release, and also when most news announcements come out. Because Mondays, everyone's catching up on emails and not enjoying their life because they're back at work.
It's fair. It's fair.
Fair. Sad and fair. So, we have a fun topic today. Today's title is From the Misinformation Age to the Disinformation Age. As we've discussed previously with the show, we've been kind of changing a little bit, not just talking about society and counterculture, but talking about like changes before and after the pandemic, because like it's been a few years. We can talk about this now without freaking out, at least I hope.
We'll see.
We'll see. And if we freak out, we'll edit all those things out. Right, Caleb? Oh, boy. So this is kind of like really interesting because we've covered fake news in the past. We talked about Facebook trending when that was a thing.
Dude, yeah, that's right.
I remember, I know, so long ago. So pre-pandemic, we covered Facebook trending, which was a huge source of fake news because it's Facebook. And I talked about how I personally went to, I was trying to get into a Trump rally. Not that I'm a Trump supporter by any means. Something we're going to be discussing later. And there was a scheduled protest right across the street from this, which was hilarious and awesome. And
I love the idea of a scheduled protest.
Well, they went and they actually got like paperwork filed and everything.
I just love it. It's just my favorite.
It was like, we're gonna do this right.
Yeah. We're in a protest, but we don't want to be animals here.
I kind of admire it, you know? I think it's cool because it's like, well, we have a permit to protest. It's like, all right, well, what can we do? Cool. They went to City Hall. Anyway.
Yeah. It kind of makes me think like, oh man, imagine if they had those kind of like, that kind of attitude with like the Boston Tea Party. They were like, well, you guys don't have a permit.
Well,
you got us there. We better go home.
Well, we're going to go. Well, I'm going to march over to City Hall and I'm going to get a permit to dump the tea in the harbor.
Like, no, not approved. Yeah. Rejected.
So the scheduled protest, and it was crazy because it was like two high school pep rallies for opposite teams happening like across the street from each other.
Yeah.
Like the Trump crowd and just liberals. And this was like while Trump was running for president, like back in,
was this with the Hillary one?
Yeah, with Hillary back in 2016. He was going through primaries at this point. So he wasn't even the nominee, I think. And so it was just crazy. I got maybe like 40 feet from the door, and Trump always chooses smaller venues so that it can look packed on TV. And I got about 40 feet, and they're like, "Yep, you're not getting in." So I'm like, all right. So I took off the MAGA hat that my brother gave me as a gag gift for Christmas. I shoved it inside my hoodie, and I went and I talked and I hung out with like all the protesters for it, which was like a really like very interesting experience. I didn't even think about this like before I was putting the show together. But let me actually I didn't even think about this because like I took a ton of pictures for it. Let me share my screen to kind of show some of these. Like, so this is in Salt Lake City, March 18th, 2016. And these are scheduled protesters. See if we can zoom in a bit and see what's on that sign. My computer is not zooming in. Oh wait, there we go. Bernie Sanders all the way.
Sad.
I would have wrote, "Be sure to drink your Ovaltine," but that's just me. But yeah, it was
packed with nutrients, guys. It's packed with nutrients.
Nutrients and a lot of sugar. Holy cow! Ovaltine has a just an insane amount of sugar. But yeah, this was
It's
the
the breakfast
protest.
cereal of chocolate milk.
I know, it really is. But this was the protest, like people back and forth, and I'm just like, what is happening here? And then like to take a quote out of the movie Forrest Gump, and then there was a man with an American flag for a shirt. So,
Wah.
yeah, and so I went and just like watched these people just cheer and shout at each other, shouting "All Lives Matter" and then "Black Lives Matter," and it, like I said, 2 high school pep rallies. And I'm just kind of like, okay, this is interesting. But like, there was like no violence. I just want to point that out. Like, there's me trolling with a Trump thing. I know. I truly don't like Donald Trump. And we'll talk about that later. But this is just, this is like what it was. It was a really cool thing to see, to be honest. But then like we're here right after, I just took off the MAGA hat and like I have it kind of stored in like my little hoodie shirt. And I went and I talked with all the protesters and just kind of like hung out with them, and it was just so interesting. But then I come home and this is what I see on the Facebook.com, on Facebook trending. Salt Lake City rally, protesters and supporters fight outside Donald Trump rally in Utah. I didn't see any fist fights. If I would have taken pictures. And I might have gotten
that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, it would have been hilarious. But there wasn't anything like that. Like, not even close. Police said there were no arrests made, and there were only minor incidents occurred Friday at the rally at the Infinity Event Center where protesters and supporters arguing and yelled at each other. News outlets said. Well, yeah, I guess if that's what you consider a fight, is like just arguing and like
were they just like you don't even know, and then the other side was like, no, you don't even know.
Yeah,
and then the other side was like, no,
that's what it felt like.
You don't even know.
I don't really feel like anyone knew that was there. It was pretty.
They didn't know.
It was definitely interesting though, but it wasn't like a fight. It wasn't like a riot. And then about this time, I'm just like, what is happening? And this was about when I was already kind of disgusted with Facebook and how it was spreading its news and information with the Facebook trending, which was a blatant attempt to try to copy Twitter, now known as X.
It's Twitter.
Yeah, it's Twitter. So we've covered this type of thing before. We're no strangers to this. So with the disinformation age, we're going to be touching a lot on things that are, quote, conspiracy theories. But in reality, it's just like a lot of disinformation talking points have just kind of moved into the conspiracy theory space. And it's like, there's this thing that's happening. It's a conspiracy theory. And it's like, no, words have meaning, and that does not qualify. And that's kind of what's happened now. Caleb is kind of a defender of conspiracy theories.
It depends.
Not all conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Not all conspiracy theories are considered equal in the eyes of Caleb, but some are created more equal than others.
Some are more equal than others, like pigs in Animal Farm.
Animal Farm is a great book, but I am upset that all it did was profane the great name of communism.
It certainly is a book of all time.
But anyway, I am not in the conspiracy theory camp, but I will admit there are some times where some conspiracy theories have come true, especially CIA-related things. One conspiracy theory that Caleb and I do deeply agree on is everything Harambe related.
How could you not?
We will, exactly, that's what I'm getting at. We will 100% admit that. So we are going to be talking...
Anybody that denies Harambe's theory, the conspiracy theories surrounding Harambe, you're a bad person, and you should feel bad about yourself.
Dicks out. Like,
dicks out.
You don't even know. Dicks out.
You don't even know how to have your dicks out for Harambe.
Freaking. Anyway, so going back to misinformation, this being experienced constantly, this has been something that's like appeared a lot in my life, very much unfortunately, growing up. And this is like disinformation and misinformation that like I experienced a lot. And when I met Caleb in Utah, and a couple of his friends, particularly Shane Barker, they all thought this next thing I'm going to tell, the story, is hilarious. So when I was growing up, and this is very, very real, I lived in constant fear of the draft happening, like the military draft. For those listening on podcast, Caleb's just like chuckling, and because you can't see his face. But yeah, I lived in fear of the draft. Like I literally heard this from tons of people growing up. I heard it from my dad a lot. I heard it from someone who was really big into spreading like misinformation, disinformation, and they would always say things like when I was getting close to being like 25, I think, would like the kind of the cutoff age. They're like, they'll take you anyway. They'll find a way, and it was like always a way to like
buddy,
keep to keep me scared to being pulled into the draft. Like I heard this all of my life growing up, like in the Midwest. Then I moved to Utah, and I was talking with Caleb and Shane and a couple other people about that. They're like, dude, what are you talking about? What is this? And like they just had no idea of it. It took me a couple of years to figure this out and piece it together. But the majority of this was like coming from Rush Limbaugh, like former AM radio talk show host, and a lot of the people that I knew, they all listened to him. And every time there was like anything war related, he would start spewing off about the draft. And then after that, his listeners would start doing it too, and it was just like an echo chamber effect.
Gotta love Rush.
Yeah. So
freaking idiot.
I shed no tears when he passed away, but the draft, that was something that like I grew up with a lot, unfortunately.
Which is just the draft. Because I remember somebody mentioning that to my dad, being like, "Oh, the draft could come. You got a lot of sons," and my dad was like, "We have the biggest military in the world. You think they need 3 little white guys from Utah? No, I think we'll be fine."
It's so absurd, like looking at it from like a logical perspective and in hindsight. But as a young
of course,
a teenager to a young adult, and this is like what I heard all my life.
No, of course,
I was
totally
constantly living in fear that like the draft could happen any minute or whatever. And then this was kind of around the time of Iraq too. So and that's what, just added more fuel to the fire. So I
do not long for those days.
Yeah. Well, one joke that Caleb usually makes fun of me about the draft with quite a bit is he always asks me, is the draft in the room with us right now?
Well, is it?
Because it is.
It's a fair question, Mark.
It's a very
the draft
fair question.
in
So
the room with us right now.
I know. So this was something like I experienced with like disinformation, but it was never something like a conspiracy or misinformation. Is probably a better way of putting it. It's kind of mixed. But it was never something that turned into like a conspiracy theory. But now everything has turned into like small points turn into conspiracy theories or get lumped into the conspiracy theory umbrella. One that I am loving to bring up right now, and as Caleb and I were talking before the show, he's like, "Oh, I forgot about this." Was 5G towers spreading some kind of sickness, which came even before COVID happened.
Dude, I have a story about that if we have time.
Go ahead. Just say it now, man.
Okay, so this was like a few months before COVID, like 2019. We had a pizza delivered to our house, and
I remember you telling me this. I remember you telling me this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you remember? So dead serious. Guy comes to the door. He's delivering the pizza, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, how's it going, man?" He's like, "Oh, doing good." And then like, I don't even know how the hell. Like, I don't even know how the hell this came up. But the guy was like, "Man, it's just all these 5G towers," and I was like, "Uh-huh." Can I get my pizza? No, but dude, he like stood there at my doorstep, like preaching the gospel of 5G towers are gonna end us all.
It reminds me of,
bro, I'm tired. I just had a baby. Like, I don't fucking care about your 5G tower conspiracy theory, buddy.
This reminds me very much of like what I constantly hear about from my friends having to talk to drug dealers, and it's like,
dude, maybe he was
where the drug dealer like holds the drugs hostage, and they're like, "Hey, man, you want to listen to my screenplay? Just like hear a rough draft of it, do a read through with me." And it's like, man, I just want the goods. I've given you the money. Why are we doing this? I just had a baby.
Do you need a bigger tip? Like, what is this? Can we just move on?
What do I have to do to get this?
But it was pretty funny though, because like during that time, my wife was in the other room, and he didn't hear this, but I heard this, and and this is actually kind of ties into what we were talking about before. She was like, "Oh, is 5G in the room with us right now?"
Oh, yes.
And he was like, and he's like, "Oh, what did she say?" And I was like, "I don't know. Never mind. Can I just go, get off my fucking property?"
Who knows?
You
Just
know?
give me the pizza. And you might want to get out of here,
Dude. Seriously though, it was like I was like, dude, like you're making my pizza cold. Like,
Well,
come
and
on,
this is
man.
what I'm going to be talking about later. Is like how this is like like it's kind of ruined everyday life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It almost
and-
ruined my pizza.
Speaking of pizza, Caleb, have you heard of the great conspiracy theory known as PizzaGate?
I have heard of the PizzaGate. Yes.
Oh boy, let's talk about the PizzaGate
I just
for
love
a
that
second.
gate has to be at the end of everything.
So
anyway,
here is
let's
the
continue.
reason behind that. Why gate has to be at the end of everything. Apparently, so it goes back to Watergate.
With Nixon.
Richard Nixon. I don't even know.
Richard Nixon.
So I feel like everyone has a Richard Nixon impression. It's super easy to do.
It's like how everybody has a Schwarzenegger one.
Oh man, I don't think I got a good Schwarzenegger one.
You don't have a good Schwarzenegger?
I don't think so. I don't. Well, yeah. Anyway,
just say "I'll be back" in a funny way, and it's pretty much.
I'll be back.
Well, that is pretty bad.
Yeah, my Nixon, I'll be back. Hey, that was the criteria you gave me.
That was a crossover.
That was a crossover episode. So, so Watergate, it was so big. And we're not going to be discussing Watergate, although we could be talking about that with conspiracy theories. But because Watergate was so huge, it was like every news outlet afterward, it tries to like go off of that popularity. So now everything that's major like that, like that's a scandal, it's like that's why Gate's just thrown out now.
Yeah.
To where it's kind of lost all meaning, to be honest. So PizzaGate. This is coming full circle into the conspiracy theory, the pizza that Caleb was trying to get. 5G. And my gosh. So, I had never heard of this, until I had a friend who was obsessed with like, disinformation. This was the type of person that spent a lot of his time on Facebook, listening to talk radio, and just a sheltered individual. But he was still my friend. At the time, until I eventually cut him off because like he just kept talking about like things like this, to be honest, and other reasons. But so we were having a casual phone conversation, and this is how it always happened. He's like,
"Hear about that 5G?
Yeah. It's
just give my pizza."
Yeah, it's always like we're having a casual conversation, but someone's got to ruin it with some of this crap, and so. He was like, "Oh, you hear about PizzaGate?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Oh."
You're like, "Is it a new restaurant or like what are we?
Yeah. Is it like is it a Chuck E. Cheese? Like what's going on?
Like arcade?
And so
they deliver really fast? Like what are we getting at?
Yeah, it's a pedophile ring in DC ran by Hillary Clinton and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, man, I'm gonna just try to change the subject. And it was clear like I didn't want to talk about this. And he just starts saying belligerently, he goes, "No, go, look it up. And like as I'm on the phone with him, he's trying to get me to look this up.
Look it up.
And I'm
stop this conversation and look it up.
Yeah. Stop the presses. I need you to look this up right now. And I told him, I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. And so eventually I did look it up several months after, because eventually someone went in there with a gun to this restaurant that this was happening at, didn't find anything, and it just caused all these issues because there were so many edgelords on the internet perpetuating this lie and this conspiracy theory. So I also want to say that look it up. This is the previous do your own research as well. This was the prerequisite to that. But he just kept shouting, "Look it up! It's on the internet!" And I told one of my other friends about this. I told Merlin, who's been on the show rather frequently. Merlin's like, "Well, yeah, everything's on the internet. Like, what is it on the internet?" If we were still doing T-shirts today, I would probably have something that said "Look it up" with a slice of pizza on it. Just throwing that out there. I don't feel like making merch for the show, and I just don't have the time for that. But if I did, that's what I would be making.
That's amazing.
But like, look it up, do your own research, and then wake up sheeple. All these phrases have just lost like
Wake
all
up,
their
sheeple.
wake up sheeple. They've lost all their effects,
Yeah.
and they've really just turned into memes at this point. Especially wake up sheeple. Wake up sheeple is one of my more favorite ones. I'll send it as like a text to Caleb all the time, and he knows I'm not serious. But generally speaking, most things I text to Caleb are not serious.
Except for Simpsons posts.
Except for Simpsons. Yeah, mostly Simpsons stuff. So outside of everyday conversation, usually these things occur on social media. This is not something we're going to deep dive into. But the problem is, as Caleb has mentioned what he's experienced and what I experience a lot, I don't have social media. I have LinkedIn, regrettably, and I'll I do have future shows planned to talk about LinkedIn quite a bit. But I'm experiencing a lot of this crap in real life, like in phone conversation, in person.
Right.
The big thing when I lived in Omaha, Nebraska, it was popular to hear these from Uber drivers. And it was like I'd have like a 25% chance if I got in a car of like, okay, am I going to hear some disinformation today? And it's like, did you hear about? And I'm like, look, man, I just want to go to the grocery store. Please just take me there, drop me off. I just want to pick up my prescriptions and get out of here. Like, let's not draw this out. I want to leave you a tip and a nice review. Please don't stop me from doing that. So
he's trying his damnedest to make sure you can't, though.
Yeah. So there's only a couple things that I can do with this. I can ignore them. I can humor them, which I really don't want to do. I've humored these people in the past, and like they don't get the idea. It's like, look, I'm just being nice. And then I can also.
You said that like you really wanted to know when I was telling you about this stuff.
I do, and I still do, just not right now. Or I could ask people for evidence, which usually which usually turns into them screaming.
Look it up.
Yeah, exactly. They turns into them screaming, "Look it up!" at me, which has some links to a sketchy website that somehow circles back to a Facebook page or group that has a variation of the name and phrase "free thinkers" as a title. Or
incredible.
The last thing. And this is what I started doing, and I did this with someone who told me the 5G towers too, and it was great.
Oh
no! Tell them I want to discuss this in 6 months to a year from now, after the latest bullshit has been debunked, and watch them just cringe at themselves. Like I will tell them, and I did do this to one of my friends with the 5G. I told her, let's discuss this at a later date. How's 6 months sound? And she's like, you'll see. And so I actually put it in my calendar. I put it in my calendar 6 months later, and it was during COVID. So they're like, I think the towers had something to do with it. I'm like, all right, fine. So another 6 months.
They did.
Yeah, and then after that, they were kind of like, it was about a year after this, they were like, I'm starting to wonder about a lot of this stuff. I don't really think it was accurate. I'm like, So have your calendars ready, people. Sheeple, yeah. Wake up, sheeple.
Got your calendars ready, sheeple.
One constant I've noticed with this, like for people that spread the information for these types of things, like the in-person people, I'm not talking the social media super spreaders, but the people that do it in person, they don't have anything like going on in their lives. And I refer to these people as the equity people. And Caleb has heard me complain about the equity people a lot. So let me explain what the equity people are. So these are people who bought their house at the right time, and they won't shut up about the great interest rate they've locked themselves into. They're like, the market, it was just perfect. Everyone else in the neighborhood, like, the equity, was just great. The HOA, just so amazing.
HOAs. Anyway.
Yeah. These people, like, all they talk about is their equity. But my equity. Like, that's like their favorite thing to talk about. Besides this disinformation. But with these types of people, just to give you a little bit of a better idea for who they are, they're the type of people that never move, which it's like, okay, if you're real concerned about your equity and you're never going to sell your house and move, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
They also have, and like nearly every one of them, have an unfinished basement, which they're going to finish one day. And they always make it a point to mention it whenever they give a tour of their house or when they casually bring up their equity and their home and nearly every social interaction that they have. And these people don't actually invest in their house. They don't like fix it up. They just sit there and do nothing with their lives except talk about their fucking equity and spread these goddamn like misinformation and disinformation like talking points. And it's just draining as hell. And I used to work with one of these guys in particular. I've worked with a lot of them, but there's one that, there's always one that stands out above the rest that like when you think of a stereotype, and he was that guy. And he would always come in like outraged about something that he saw like on the news or read on a website or whatever. And I'm kind of glad he did, because he would talk about it at work, and it helped me know what I needed to be outraged and upset about.
Yes. He's your spirit guide.
I would be there by the coffee machine, and he's like, "Did you know that blah, blah, blah?" And I'm like, "No, I don't even know." And he's like, "You don't even know?" I'm like, "I don't even know." And then another thing, this is where the disinformation conspiracy theory and the equity people, this is where they all lined on the Venn diagram from an experience I had. So I had another coworker. This guy, he was super emotionally in charge. Like, sorry, let me repeat that. He was super emotionally charged and just massively impulsive. When I refer to this guy, I just refer to him as Loose Cannon. And Caleb,
I love Loose Cannon.
Yeah, I complained about this guy so much. He's actually part of like a book that I'm writing because he's just such an interesting character, because he's
such a loose cannon.
Because he's incredibly stupid. So, anyway, he was having one of his usual mood spats, and the equity coworker was like, "I don't know if he's okay. I mean, he did get the jab." Meaning he got a COVID shot. So Loose Cannon had a COVID shot, and because of that was causing him to act up. Not because this guy acts up constantly, like every day, and he's just pushed over the edge more than normal. It's because he had a vaccine shot 4 months ago, and that's what finally made him into a maniac.
Sounds like it was just kind of a personality trait.
But he got the jab.
Made it worse,
Made it worse.
That's how things work. I'm smart.
That's how things work. I have a Facebook degree. Do you remember like there was that joke about like Facebook University going around a while ago?
Yeah.
That's what this reminded me of. Yeah, well, I have a doctorate from Facebook University. That's what I want to say at my class reunion.
The doctorate from Facebook University. I'm sure you'll get lots of respect.
I doubt it. Actually, I don't know. I probably would.
I was like,
unironically, I probably would get respect. So I want to mention this.
You might.
I don't want to get too off topic, but I did not. So I'm nearly 40, and last year would have been my 20th high school reunion. And I was actually kind of excited because I was going to go in there and I was going to tell them I invented MySpace and all this other BS.
They're going to be like, "You're Tom?"
And like, I just, no, but I was in the room when it came up with, when Tom came up with it. But anyway.
Is Tom in the room with us right now?
Oh, man. I wish. MySpace was
Dude,
the
me
best.
too. MySpace was awesome.
So, I wanted to have this reunion, and I kept like following up on it and everything. Nothing kept happening, and then finally, the reunion took place like over a Independence Day holiday around that time, but it also took place at like a class of like 78 or something like that, and it was mooching off of their class reunion, which this is the most millennial thing ever, mooching off your parents and their class reunion. So I didn't
Mom and Dad, you have your class reunion? Can I come?
Yeah, that's
Can I bring all my high school buddies?
Can I bring all my high school friends? You know, the ones I still hang out with. And so I didn't see the notice because like that night I was celebrating Independence Day with my family. So I didn't get to see this. So I got to wait 5 more years for something to happen before I can go in and start bragging about my accomplishments and lying about other things. So still bitter I didn't get a class reunion. Anyway,
speaking of class reunions, I've been invited to both of the ones that I've had, and I've said no.
Yeah, I remember us talking about this, and I remember our joke was I was gonna go and I was gonna pretend to be you.
Yeah.
And then everyone was gonna be like,
that would have been amazing.
Man, Caleb sure has gotten fat and taller. Like, what happened to him?
How did he get taller in his doesn't even make sense.
It's weird. Like, I don't even know. So you don't even know. So back to the equity people. I found a song that describes these people quite well. Hell, it could even be our new national anthem for America if Team America World Police, America Fuck Yeah, didn't exist.
I was gonna say
that one I usually play every Independence Day.
Can't really replace that one.
Right, exactly. So the song is called Asshole by Dennis Leary. And I'm not going to read all of this for it, but this is pretty accurate who these people that spread this information are and the equity people. So I'm just a regular Joe with a regular job. I'm your average white suburbanite slob. I like football and porno and books about war. I got an average house with a nice hardwood floor. My wife and my kids and my job and my car. My feet on my table and a Cuban cigar. But sometimes that ain't just enough to keep a band like me interested. No, no way. No, I gotta go out and have fun at someone else's expense. Whoa, yeah. And then the pre-chorus. I drive really slow in the ultra-fast lane while people behind me are going insane. I'm an asshole. And that's like pretty much like the chorus. And then I use public toilets and I piss on the seat. I walk around in the summertime saying, how about this heat? And
Lame.
The rest of the song is pretty on par with the rest of this, but this is really how the equity people are. It's pretty accurate. Yeah. The nice hardwood floor is one of my more favorite lines. I think a close second is probably the walk around in the summer saying, how about this heat? Also, I hope someone takes me reading this and puts it together with AI, like someone did for Ben Shapiro singing WAP by Cardi B. Just throwing that out there. That is my favorite version of WAP. Not just because it's censored. Well, I guess it is because it's censored.
I was going to say.
It's because it's censored and I can play it at family gatherings. So that's always fun. At least until the Kids Bop version drops. I'm waiting for that next.
Dude. Do we need to fund this? Why hasn't this come out yet?
No idea.
It's a gold mine.
I know.
I'm telling you. It's a gold mine.
So, I feel like with since we're now the post-pandemic world, and that's kind of what we've been discussing a lot on the show, people are more susceptible to disinformation now. Before, I only heard conspiracy theories from crackpot people every now and then. But now it's a lot of people and a lot of equity people in general.
Yeah.
And it's kind of gotten deep. How deep does this go? And I don't mean deep like conspiracy theory deep. I mean it's ingrained into people's psyches. Something that happens after people get hurt, and get concussions in sports or something like that. They always have a quick competency test from a doctor, standby nurse, or whatever. And it's okay, how many fingers am I holding up? And they're like, 3. It's okay. Do you know where you're at? And it's yeah, I'm in a football stadium type of thing. Okay, last question. Do you know who the president is?
And that's a loaded question these days.
And then here's the sad thing. 5 years ago, this was not a loaded question. But now it's well, the election was stolen or whatever. It's it's ingrained into our psyche now. And I don't want to get political, but as Caleb and I mentioned, it's become a political thing, which is absurd. So I guess, Caleb, let's get political for a moment.
Let's do it.
This is going to be fun. You want to get political? let's get political.
Let's get political. Political.
Wish we had
I
music for
wanna
that.
get political. Yep,
Oh,
that
no.
was my rendition of that song. Let's get
So-
physical, but worse. So
Oh.
much worse.
So I'd say I'll edit that out, but I'm definitely leaving it in. 100%. So let's talk.
It's on the internet forever now.
Gosh, I never thought I would say this on this show. Let's talk politics. So, God,
Yuck.
it's coming out. Even though, like, so I want to spend just a kind of a moment or two talking about Caleb and I's political beliefs, because they are vastly, not really the beliefs, but like where we align, because we're vastly different.
Yeah.
With this. And I think this is also, it's going to provide more context for, I guess, future shows, and also some points I want to go to with this disinformation that's coming up. So Caleb, I want to start with him because he's a lot more fun than I am on this.
I mean, I guess.
To be honest. So
I don't know, man.
Caleb,
Maybe.
yeah. So Caleb's political views. The best way that I would describe it, like just asking me, and Caleb will obviously correct me and say, no, Mark, you're way off, you crackpot. Caleb is basically a defector of the Libertarian Party.
Yeah,
Is
it's
probably
fairly accurate. It's fairly accurate.
How would you describe yourself, Caleb?
It's kind of a fringe group, to be honest, called agorism, which is basically distrust of every type of authority.
And I was
essentially,
yeah, and
so basically, like, because like people always say like, oh, you don't like trust the government, and I'm like, no, why would I do that? Like, they've given me no reason to trust them, and they're like, oh, well, so then you probably love business, right? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I love businesses. They definitely don't sell me shit that I don't need. You know,
for those that don't know,
and
Caleb
inject
has
things.
For those that don't know, Caleb has some tinfoil wrapped underneath his hat.
I sure do.
That you cannot
sure
see.
Do. No, but like, I mean, the funny thing about a lot of it is like, I have some of my favorite moments are some of the things that I think of that just make me laugh, are like coming up with ways to piss off people in both the left and the right circles, and there's a really easy one, and if we have time I can get to it later.
Just say it now, Caleb. Just say it now.
All right. I'll just say it now. This is one of my favorites, and it literally triggered a lady in my neighborhood last year. I'm dead serious.
Right at the HOA meeting while they were bragging about their equity. How kind of you.
So she's like super left leaning, in most ways. And I was like, yeah, one of my favorite things to do is to trigger people on both sides with one phrase. And she's like, oh yeah, well, how would you do that? And I was like this. I would say I couldn't vote for Donald Trump because he was too liberal.
You ruined one of my jokes for later too. Oh,
but it's just,
dang it.
I told you I could do it later. I gave you every opportunity.
Yeah, no, I had something in this because I was. I'll mention my part now or whatever. Like, obviously, so Caleb and I have different views. I'm on the left side of it, but when I would be in particular areas, people would start talking to me about their politics. If it was something I would agree with, I would say something to the effect, like if they brought up Donald Trump, I would be like, yeah, someone would be like, yeah, Donald Trump, I'm real glad he's like real conservative. I'd be like, not conservative enough.
He's not even. I don't know. He's really not that conservative. It's funny. But anyway,
then with Biden, they would be like, oh, Biden, he's just so liberal. I'll be like, not liberal enough. So similar.
Biden's an interesting one.
Yeah. So similar concept. Similar joke.
But yeah, like and dude, but it was funny though because she went from this like look of like, oh, you won't be able to piss me off to this like.
You got to me.
And it was so funny because her husband was right there, and because it was just in our neighborhood. It was actually 4th of July because our neighborhood does like a big 4th of July thing.
How patriotic of you!
At the end of it, dude, you have no idea.
4th of July. Wow, that's what the 4th of July. Caleb, that's what the liberals call it. I'm so sick of the war on Independence Day. I'm so tired of this.
And you know me, I hate Day. You know me, I hate independence. Yeah.
So right as you were eating your bald eagle burger, you told her that Donald Trump was too liberal for you.
Yeah. Well, it's just and like the thing is like to be honest, like it's I don't. My personal belief isn't necessarily that he even is liberal in the ways that people want him to be liberal. Anyway, we don't have to get into this.
Yeah,
Like,
we
that's a
don't need to
long
get
and
into that.
convoluted thing. But it was just so funny because it was just like when people say stuff like, "Oh, you can't get to me," and I'm just like, "Give me a second, buddy."
Challenge accepted.
Well, because like the thing for me is just that I'm just like, yeah, everybody's wrong. Me too. I'm not saying I'm not wrong. I'm just saying everybody's wrong.
But here's
and
what
nobody wants to accept that everybody's wrong.
But here's what I like. Type of thing.
Exactly. It's and like the thing for me is that it's like, you know, like really thinking about it and I mean, it's a very interesting landscape these days, and I think that you and I have talked about this at length.
We've talked about it a ton.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it right now too.
Yeah. But it's just so interesting. And then one of my favorite things to bring up is as far as like conspiracy theories go, and this is like actually something that has dictated a lot of like my political beliefs is so you know propaganda, right?
Correct.
It's this big thing that people use all the time, right? So before 2012, it was actually illegal in the US to feed propaganda out that was disinformation or misinformation to the American public. Like, but the funny thing about it is you could do it to another country and it was totes fine.
Yeah. Oh.
So like all those flyers and shit that they put out in Colombia in the 80s where they were like, "Oh, the drug lords are ruining everything." And it's like, yeah, but it's secretly the CIA, and everybody's like, "Wait a minute, that was you guys.
The laws,
you did that." But like,
the laws end at the border, man.
No, but it's funny, and like it's something I didn't believe it when somebody first told me that like, "Oh, propaganda is legal now in the US," and I was like, "No, it's not, buddy." And then he's like, "Yeah, I mean, here," and he like actually had the information. He didn't make me look it up. He like had it.
I carry it with me at all times.
No, I mean like he like pulled it up on his phone, like not like here's a pamphlet. It was more like a oh no, like check it out, like here, and you can check it out. And it's actually, so this is a funny thing. And people can check it out if they want. I'm not going to say look it up because I don't give a fuck what people do. But it's called the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012. Like, yeah, Congress literally put into like law that it was totally fine for politicians, news corporations, and anybody on a public platform to basically lie to whoever they wanted.
This explains why things got worse.
It's hilarious, but like the funny thing about it is,
I don't think it's hilarious. That's why I'm complaining about it on my show.
Let me finish. It's funny because if you think about it, why didn't certain people run for office until after that?
I don't know. No idea.
You know, I'm not talking about everybody.
I'm not getting down that rabbit hole, man.
I know. I'm just saying it's funny to me. That's and like that was actually something where I was like, huh. So I really shouldn't trust these people that I had the instinct not to trust. This is wonderful, and it made me feel really good and warm about myself. Then I remembered my whole philosophy is everybody's wrong, self included.
And Caleb was validated, and his heart grew 3 times that day.
My heart shrank so many sizes that I'm surprised I didn't go into cardiac arrest.
Oh man,
it was so disheartening in some ways because I was like, oh cool, so I can't trust anything ever.
Gosh, so on to Caleb's beliefs. So Caleb and we've had a lot of political discussions. Some of them actually serious, but like I don't feel like you and I have ever like walked away like upset at each other.
Nah, I did because it's funny.
Yeah, usually we're including a lot of jokes, but we do have, between him and I, we have a lot of jokes. And another friend of ours as well. And one of them with libertarians is roads. That's a big one that we've been joking about, and it's just like a trope stereotype that libertarians hate roads, type of thing. Because it's and where this comes from, it's like,
are the roads in the room with us right now? And maybe. For me, they always are.
Yeah, and so
the roads are always in the room.
They're always in the room next to Tom getting ready to institute the draft.
Tom, I miss Tom.
We're through the looking glass, people. So
I wish Tom and Harambe would come back. Hatambe.
My gosh. So the roads thing, and I first heard this from Caleb too. It was like and probably libertarians, it's like they don't want taxes. So the first thing, I was like,
the biggest thing.
And I asked Caleb this, and Caleb gets it all the time. I'm like, well, what about the roads, man? How do you pay for the roads? And then she kind of
It's pretty simple answer. Because my big beef with the tax that we were talking about was income tax. Income tax doesn't pay for roads. So that's the like the way that roads are paid for, and most people probably know this. It's actually like really direct. There's a tax on gas, there's a tax on public transit, and there's a tax on property. So those three things, which are things that I think that I can somewhat agree are viable uses, sure, those would pay for the roads. But it was funny though, because like this guy, when I was in college, I actually like legitimately told this guy, like, yeah, I just don't like paying taxes. He's like, well, what about roads? And I was like,
well, and
dude,
that was one of my first responses too, because like,
yeah,
and I wasn't doing it to be like, oh, I got you,
Yeah.
take
yeah,
that,
but
Caleb.
if it's a genuine question, this guy was trying to get me, and he was like, what about the roads? And I was like, do you understand how progressive taxes work, buddy? Obviously you don't. Let me explain it to you. And it's fine. Like, most people don't. Most people legitimately think that income taxes go to pay for like roads, and it's like, no, that's not what they're for. They're basically for funding stuff that we don't need. But we don't have to get into that.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that. And so roads is one that we joke about, and then the other one, Caleb and I refer to this as or Caleb hasn't referred to this name as much. I started this, but he knew what I meant when I said it instantly. This is called bear theory. And bear theory, this is really stupid. This is from
I love bear theory so much.
This is from we have a couple references from this. One, The Simpsons.
Bear Patrol
is one with the Bear Patrol, where a bear gets into Springfield and then they raise taxes. It's the smallest tax increase in history, but then everyone complains and then goes to the mayor's office to complain about this bear tax for this Bear Patrol, which was now being funded to keep bears out of Springfield, and the smallest tax increase in history.
Like, it wasn't like a penny, literally, to everyone.
It was just so little. So that was one thing with bear theory. The other one, this comes from a book called A Libertarian Walks into a Bear: The Utopian Plot to Liberate an American Town and Some Bears. And this book is by Matthew Hongoltz Hetling. I hope I pronounced that right. I need to read this book. I read an article about this. I'm going to link this article in the show notes. It comes from Vox, and the article is titled Free State Project New Hampshire Libertarians. And what this happened, and this is just so nuts. This experiment was called a Freetown Project and was later named to the Free State Project. And the goal was simple. It was to take over this town called Grafton and its local government and turn it into a libertarian utopia. So tons of libertarians moved to this small town, and it was just all these like ragtag libertarian activists, and they just saw Grafton as like this unique opportunity to create like this dream for freedom, a perfect market-based economy, and sadly, and this is just according to Vox here. Needless to say, the utopia never arrived, but the bears did. And so what happened was, and the book is...
the bears.
What happened was, and Caleb will enjoy this, is like the government got so halted by action that it basically became that there was only like a sheriff left. And I think there was no fire department. And the sheriff couldn't even get around anymore because the roads were so crappy and in disrepair, which Caleb, I know he's happy about that.
I hate roads.
He does hate roads.
I have to. I can't, as somebody who hates, who like leads Libertarian, we have to hate. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a choice, but I don't.
My dad's libertarian and he hates roads too, Caleb, so I 100% get it.
Such a great trope.
Anyway, the whole town became in like just massive disrepair, and freedom means different things to different people. Like, so for some people, freedom means I just want peace and quiet. To others, it means I can shoot my guns and fireworks off
Anarchy,
at 3:32 in the morning and shout, "America, fuck yeah."
You don't do that?
And then to others, it means I don't have to clean up after myself. And unfortunately, that's kind of what happened with lack of trash removal. A lot of the town just became just kind of a dump, quite literally. And then bears started coming in. And once the bears started coming in, they're like, we need to do something. We need some action here to get rid of the bears. And they're like what? The government?
Like a bear patrol?
Like a bear patrol? And so they ended up reinstituting like the government nearly like fairly instantly. So it was like the libertarians, they had everything going. They finally got their dream, but then the bears came and ruined it. So bear theory is basically like libertarianism can work as long as there are no bears present. And so that's what Caleb and I have come to the conclusion of, especially with recently Argentina now having a libertarian leader there,
which
and
has been
like,
massively successful.
Yeah, having quite a bit of success. And so I was telling Caleb, I was like, well, there's no bears there. That's why.
And it's false. There are bears.
Are there bears?
There are bears in Argentina. Not a lot,
shoot.
but there are bears in Argentina.
Okay. But they just haven't I guess we just need more bears to really make this work.
If you inject more bears into Argentina, I don't think it'll make a difference because it's a different culture.
What if I send them a ton of picnic baskets? Let's see what happens there.
Oh, they're gonna need to get rid of that libertarian then.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, if Yogi and Boo Boo start popping up everywhere.
Hey, Boo Boo, let's overthrow the government.
No, I think they're screwed.
That doesn't exist. I don't know, Yogi.
I don't know, Yogi.
Seems like they voted for this. Maybe we, live and let live. I can see Boo Boo saying "live and let live."
Oh my gosh, Boo Boo!
So, enough of making fun of Caleb's political beliefs. Let's punch on mine for a little bit. So this is where this gets kind of fun. So I think most people that don't know me know that I usually don't mention anything. People that know me closely, I'm like, yeah, here's what I am. So I'll mention it on the show just for context. So this right here, this is like a political alignment chart and kind of where most people fall. Like here's like left leaning, and then there's right, authoritarianism, libertarian, freedom. And so you got Donald Trump up here, like authoritarian right. Then you got Joe Biden. He's kind of a honestly moderate left, according to this. And then you got Beto, Kamala, and Bernie Sanders. Well, so then you have me on here. I'm going to go to the next slide, and it's hard to tell, but I am left of Bernie. Like I was saying it.
It's impressive.
And here's the other thing. I was saying it as a joke for years around Caleb and a couple other friends. I'm like, yeah, I'm left of Bernie. And then I actually took the political compass test, and I'm like, oh shoot, I actually am left of Bernie. Huh. This has been ruined. I didn't think it was real. It's one of those things that like you joke about for so long, it becomes real. And that's what happened in this moment.
It can happen, I mean, Bernie's a character of sorts.
So Caleb and I'll joke a lot about like socialism, communism, and stuff like that, like back and forth. It's never like anything like really serious. Usually,
no, because socialism isn't serious. What?
I'm gonna edit that out. So
got me.
I'll show you. It's my show. I'm gonna make you say what you want. Also, side note, speaking of disinformation, AI and everything, I saw on the platform that we use, it's like I could change words of what people say in the transcript, and I'm like,
holy crap, that's amazing.
I was like, this is it's not something I'm ever gonna do. At least I don't plan on it. I might do it as a joke, but like that is
funny.
It is kind of funny actually. But like I'm like, that's a lot of power. It kind of reminds me of the 60 Minutes, or no, I'm sorry, Rock Bottom interview. You know where I'm going with this, don't you, Caleb? Interview with Homer Simpson, where they were editing his footage about what he said to make him sound like a terrible,
sweet can.
Yeah, to make him sound like a pervert and a terrible person. And in the background, the clock is like moving to different times and everything.
I love that. That episode is so funny.
It's so great. And so it kind of reminds me of that. It's like, it's super easy. And the point of having this editing power for this is like, did you say something you didn't mean to, but you wanted to say something else? Well, now you can edit that back in. And I'm like, cool, but like I could also edit the guest thing. So Caleb, so if you listen to this episode, just to let you know, Caleb is a socialist. He's not just saying he's a socialist because I am. I didn't edit the episode to say that.
Wait, what?
Moving on.
No, I'd like to go back.
No. But like I could literally say in the episode, like make Caleb say like all these things like I'm a crazy socialist.
Oh my gosh. That would be funny though. That would be very funny.
It would be funny.
But see, the funny thing about that is that that's something I told my wife. You know, because we just as a joke sometimes we talk about like, oh well, what's a phrase that would like tell you that I'm like been kidnapped and I'm compromised. And my thing was my thing was socialism is great.
No.
I'm dead serious. That's really funny though. So like if you put that on the podcast and she were to hear it, she'd be like, oh shit.
Man, I might just take that soundbite and just send it to her.
Gosh, so funny. She'd be like, "Wait, but you're right here. Are you not my husband?" And then she'd spiral.
Is your husband in the room with you right now?
She'd be like, "I don't know, because I heard his voice say socialism was great, which is our code."
And so, moving back to politics, socialism, I always have something that I call. I didn't have this in. Caleb coined the phrase in one of our chats, and so. It was political heroes.
Yeah.
He said one day, and after he said that, I could not stop laughing. So I started referring to different politicians as political heroes of mine, even if it was like people I did not care for constantly. But like I am a big Bernie and AOC fan. I was a Bernie bro. I did caucus for Bernie this past election. And that was pretty fun. I actually got to see Bernie and AOC speak at the college I was working at the time. And this isn't just like a liberal thing for me. Like I've gone to a couple different Trump rallies, even though I'm not a Trump fan, as we talked about in the very beginning. I definitely did not vote for Trump. I just want to put that out there right now.
What?
I know. I am
shocked.
I've met Mitt Romney before, which I refer to as Rom Dog.
Ugh.
And Caleb's not down.
Please tell me you washed your hand and burned all your clothing after that.
It was interesting because it was really interesting when I met him. So another side thing, like politically, I don't want to get too much into this, but I saw him when I went to community college, and I was a member of a founding member of both the Democrats Club and the Republicans Club. Like I was a member of both, and the way that started was I joined the Democrats Club, and one of my accounting teachers, he was like, he said to me, "Hey, I want to start a Republicans Club. I need some students. Would you be in it?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" So I totally went into it, and like it was crazy because like for the Republicans Club, because like this is the best part about college politics. One of the first things that I heard was there was like this guy there who was super arrogant, and he just said the first thing he said when I met him was like for his political views, he goes, "I enjoy educating the masses on the woes of liberalism." And I'm just like,
cool.
Oh, okay, sir. It's like, does he have his own soapbox? Like this was like before social media was like
he probably carries it around
everywhere.
You know.
So here is just like when I met and saw, Caleb's hero right here. This is one of my political heroes, Caleb. Good old Mitt.
Sure it is.
And there I am in 2007 with Mitt Romney. But this is back in the days when I was Mormon, as Mitt Romney is a Mormon. And so I walked up to him, I shook his hand, I said, "Brother Romney, can I get a picture with you?"
You really said Brother Romney?
I really did. He smiled and he was like, yeah. I would say that mostly, for the cringe.
Sure.
But
he probably ate that shit right up.
He totally ate that shit right up. It was great. I think he thought it was also kind of funny too. And I actually heard it from like my former Mormon bishop too. He told me to go say that. And I'm like, you know what? I am gonna say that because why not? So I went and I got a
Mitt.
Yeah, Mitt. And it was funny and it was pretty interesting. This isn't like the best pictures I have, but I also got to see Obama Speaking of high school, I didn't get to like go up and meet him, but like as he was campaigning, went through, got to see him. There's him saying, "Let me be clear," I'm sure, and there we go.
Or no. Listen,
back, there we go.
no. Listen, the thing is, everybody, I'm not gonna get to my point, but I'm gonna talk like I'm going to get to a point. Okay, please clap.
I'll be back.
No. I'll be back. I'll be back. Okay.
Full circle. My terrible Schwarzenegger impression goes to another former president. So I mean, I've gone to a lot of political events, even though I'm not involved with these parties, and like it used to be fun, something to do, type of thing. So, where am I going with all of this? With the political heroes, Caleb's views, disinformation? Well, you can't really hold opposing views anymore, and that's kind of the problem of what I'm getting at. Like it used to be where people had like crazy crackpot views, you could be like, oh, this person, they just believe that. But now those people have become so polarized and also so annoying that I just can't, for me personally, I can't keep them around. And these are just the people that are like touting this disinformation. But like Caleb and I, we're not in that camp. And so we're never like really having these types of like arguments. Caleb's not saying, look it up or anything like that. Or if he does say look it up, he usually says it as a joke quite a bit. It's become a running joke between us for
it is a good one.
About
it's
a year
funny.
and a half now after I told him about it. So and unfortunately, like other people aren't going to have that type of friendship that we have because they've been so deeply ingrained into this disinformation, and now that's become their whole identity. And to the point where I kind of hate to use this, but it's kind of funny. It's to where Thanksgiving becomes a lot more unbearable. Like that type of thing. I had a pretty rough Thanksgiving last year, but it was because we had a new dog that was adopted, and you never get a dog around the holiday. And they were a trauma dog, and the dog went a little nuts. And so I told my friends, I was like, yeah, Thanksgiving this year was a little rough. And they're like, politics? And I'm like, I wish.
You're like, that would have been a nice reprieve.
Yeah, I mean.
Sure wish we could have talked about Bernie Sanders instead.
Yeah, it would have been great. But no, never really happened. So disinformation is also tied a lot into politics now. Like an insane amount. And it's getting nuts. But now there's a new disinformation tool. And here's kind of the theme of why we've come back recently. It all comes back to AI. And so here we are once again at the end of an episode talking about AI. And
how could we not?
But disinformation, like Caleb and I were talking about like some of this AI stuff that's like been coming out lately, and not just like disinformation, like things you spread on Facebook, but basic answers for things. There's a website known as Reddit. I said that so seriously when we talk about Reddit all the time. So Reddit's like, it's kind of a troll site at times with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of serious stuff on there. I love and hate Reddit, as I mentioned before on there. One thing I also like to point out to people, Reddit is not real life. Social media is not real life.
What?
Hell, the internet is not real life.
That sounds like some conspiracy shit to me.
This podcast, however, is real life.
Please
like and subscribe.
Great plug.
I can't take it seriously.
Man.
My favorite plug, I don't like saying like and subscribe. I'm saying it mostly as a joke because we're on YouTube now. My favorite plug, and I said it last episode, it's from Arrested Development, where they were talking about shameless plugs, and then the narrator goes, please tell your friends about this show. And so I threw that in last episode. Yeah, I know. I threw that in last episode, and now I'm like trying to throw that in every now and then because it's such a desperate plug, and it's so funny. But it's so self-aware.
Tell your friends.
But it's so self-aware too. Like that's the best part about it. So my plan is to keep plugging that and seeing how it goes. I'll keep you posted on that, Caleb. I will return.
Thank you.
I will return and report. So
please do.
Yeah. So anyway, with Reddit, and AI, Google struck a deal with them. Our good friends at Google, good old capital G, struck a deal with Reddit, and they're now terribly corrupt and terrible CEO to take out like all that information from Reddit and all their posts and put it into AI, and it is not good. Some of the answers that it is generating. Caleb and I have been sending memes to each other back and forth from like what we have been finding, and they're pretty funny. Like screenshots from
They're
Google.
bad.
I think Caleb and I had this joke forever, even before AI came out, and it's just super dumb. And it is pee is stored in the balls. And it's so stupid. And we acknowledge it's stupid, but it's funny. And there's even a Daft Punk song that's a remix that's actually pretty damn good called Pee is Stored in the Balls.
Yeah, it's actually very good.
It's really good. Highly recommend that you go and look it up.
It'll take a lot of research to get there, though, so make sure you have the proper AI guiding you.
Yes. I hope that the AI can guide you to the youtube.net and
.net? Let's play some porn site, dude.
Oh my gosh. .net sites are so great because they're so bad, like sketchy. Anyway, so with this, it's like that came up as like an AI response to something.
Yeah, like a legitimate answer.
Yeah, so
it was saying, yes, it's verified
by Reddit or whatever. Some Reddit, or it always says like a Reddit user says pee is stored in the balls, and it's like an anonymous social website.
Yeah, it's like trusting
Facebook.
A poor man's version of Wikipedia.
And other things that we have found with this that have been really fun as well. There was one that we found, like someone put like a question: do cockroaches live in cocks?
Yeah,
and hence, which is so absurd. And it's like, yes, and it's like, what is going on? And people, and it's like, yeah, Reddit user says this, and someone's saying it's a troll or because it's funny, but AI has no nuance and can't really determine that. And then another thing, and this is a little serious, pretty dark. Someone's like, what do I do if I'm depressed? And then one Reddit, and it's like the serious answer says it's like Reddit. It's like one Reddit user says, walk off the Golden Gate Bridge. And it's like, damn, what is going on? Like, there's no nuance. But hey, AI is the future.
AI is the future.
Gosh.
Yeah, they definitely won't give you the wrong information about cockroaches, where pee is stored, or what to do if you're feeling depressed.
Yeah. Are there any other
better
good
than
ones?
Therapy?
Man, is there any other good ones that you can think of, Caleb, that we've seen recently?
Man.
Those are the big ones.
Oh, there was one that I saw about alligator attacks in toilets.
Oh, really? That's
dead serious. So it was like because somebody asked the question on Ask Reddit once again, because I don't know why people ever ask Reddit. Honestly, it
kind of reminds me of asking anything on the internet. Like
that's fair.
Think about Quora and Yahoo Answers.
We don't have to go into that. Maybe we will someday. But somebody put on there like, do alligators actually like live in sewers, and can they come up through your toilet? And then this guy posted this bogus statistic. He's like, yeah, in the state of New York. And then he like put this, dude, I'm dead serious. Because somebody apparently in New York had rats come out of their toilet. And somebody in Florida had an alligator come out of their toilet. Like one in the last 100 years in Florida had that happen. So this guy's like, yeah, in fact, between New York and Florida, there have been
between New York and Florida.
These two not even close to each other's states, but they were like between New York and Florida, there have been 17 alligator attacks within a toilet in the last year. And I was like, are you serious, AI? Like, you can't...
What kind of correlation?
Where are you getting this data?
It reminds me of, like with that correlation, it reminds me of this meme I sent you the other day. It was like all the MCU movies. And it said, And it said equals no Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And then it showed Morbius plus Titanic equal 12 Academy Awards. And it's clear.
It's accurate.
It's accurate. It's clear
it's true.
Morbius does not have any, but Titanic does. But that's the New York and Florida comparison.
It's the New York and Florida connection there between those two. But it was like, but the other thing that was funny is it was like an obviously bogus statistic, because it was like, The funniest thing about it too is like when that guy found an alligator in his toilet, it was like a baby alligator. It wasn't like this full-grown
It was
alligator. Like
it was a
like
pet. It was a pet they flushed.
dude, it essentially it probably like it could have been, you know.
Yeah.
But like that was also something where like
Sorry, son,
so
we can't keep Allie. She's just eating too
Yeah,
many of the
yeah.
crawdads. Gotta get rid of
eating
her.
too many of these crawdads. We're getting hungry.
I think she's
Damn
gonna
alligator.
run away. And then they just flush her down the
Oh,
toilet.
she ran away.
She ran away. Dad,
no, but-
Allie's
and, like,
back.
They don't really know like exactly how the alligator got there, you know, because it's like
It's Florida.
How would you? How? Yeah, I mean, it's like that's like saying, oh, I don't know how these mosquitoes got here. It's nature, bro. They're just there.
Honestly,
you know, but,
it's not mine. Somebody's playing a prank on me.
Yeah, but it was like that's like the instance that somebody found an alligator in the last like 100 years in a toilet, and they were like, oh yeah, it totally happens all the time.
That is a
Take that and run with it, AI.
That's a great troll post.
That's amazing. No, but because it's like that's such a dumb question. Like, yes, there are going to be alligators living in your toilet, bro. Like,
I mean, I
you better check.
I kind of see the point. Like, I kind of get that a little bit because it's like, yes, it's a dumb question, but we all ask dumb questions, like what we search on the internet, which I think is why some of these websites exist. But I don't think when we're searching for these questions, we're really thinking about the people answering these questions. And I think that's where the issues come in for like Reddit, Quora. Quora is probably a little more credible, I guess, and doesn't have as many
I think it
trolls.
depends on the it depends on the like
Jordan. Jordan Peterson
one of the things. One of the things that I like about Quora versus all the other ones is that like if you're going to answer a question and it's like a serious academic question, they require you to provide credentials. So it's not like it's like some random guy can comment on astrophysics. Like you have to have experience and like a certain type of degree and all that kind of stuff. So you have to have studies. But like for instance on like Wikipedia, it's like I could go on there and be like, yeah, black holes, we're probably getting swallowed by one right now. Could happen.
Never know.
You know?
I think
might happen tomorrow, you know, we're gonna die, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think Jordan Peterson got his start on Quora. I think I remember hearing that somewhere.
I thought he was a university professor, but
university professor, sense. But I think like one way he
wrote, you mean like his internet presence,
his internet following, and
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Did he clean his room first? Or
I hope so. So
I'm not gonna say the other one.
No. But yeah, I think he did on Quora right now. I just looked it up. He's got a lot of followers. Oh wow, he has on here. Here, let me share the screen on this. I definitely don't want to plug Jordan Peterson by any means. I have read his book, the 12 Rules of Life, I think it was.
Dude, he's got 48,000 followers.
Yeah, this is nuts.
Dude, we'll get 48,000 followers like in a day, Jordan.
Yeah, take that, Jordan. Just wait till our
Please tell your friends about this show.
Yeah, so he is. He hasn't answered in 7 years though. Better get back to it, Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan. You're letting them all down, Jordy.
Yeah. Quit writing books. Do something with your life. Do something with your life. Go clean your room. Back to AI for this. We also have image generation, which is kind of terrible, but people are having a hard time telling this, especially people like that are in like an older demographic and share things on Facebook.
It's really honestly, that's a little bit that is something that is kind of dangerous sometimes too.
And it's odd because for me, I look at this like two ways. One, like the image generation, yes, it can get kind of accurate. Some of it still looks like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, weird. It's very uncanny valley.
And why do they have 16 fingers and toes on like one hand? And but like AI, or not AI, but Photoshop and video editing, those have been around forever.
Yeah,
I mean, those have been around, like not just Photoshop, but image manipulation, like with I think is it Stalin with the missing person? photo. Yeah,
yeah.
Stalin.
He took the person out of the photo. Yeah.
Let me share this for those watching it. The YouTube.net. But yeah, Stalin. He originally had like this person next to him, and then photoshopped out. And I learned
Suddenly they weren't.
Yeah, and this was interesting. Like I learned about that in one of my classes in college that was going over Photoshop, and it was like this like predates Photoshop. Like they didn't just take this picture and be like, "Here, run this on your 386."
What?
Or yeah, and go Photoshop them out, and it's like, well, time to fire up the old DOS, CD space Photoshop or whatever, and then
Jeez.
Photoshop exe. I mean, this type of stuff has been around. It's just the tools for having it have evolved like so much now, and it's just going to get worse and probably going to get more divided. But well, hooray! So I think since we are on the topic of AI, I think it's kind of fun. And Caleb and I talk about like what we use it for. We use it for like cool things to like mess around with, and it's like a fun little hobby thing. I will say, like, AI and the advancements that we've had, for this, it's one reason we brought the show back, so I don't have to spend a ton of time editing. Now we can get transcripts. So if you think about all the great things that are happening with AI right now, or I guess all the terrible things that are happening right now, you can think, well, at least the MCS1 show is back. And if you don't like the show, then you can just think AI is ruining everything. So
really easy to keep thinking that.
Please tell your friends about this show. All right. Anyway, that's our show, everyone. I want to thank Caleb for coming on. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the MCS1 show. If you like the show, please subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. All voices on the show are not AI generated, celebrity voices are impersonated, and no droids were harmed during the production of this show. For more information about the show notes and links, head over to the MCS1show.com or search AOL keyword MCS1.